Now, Akwesi, so even beyond the public opinion, beyond the requirement of good governance, and, you know, beyond even the fact that the man has lost credibility, let's look at where we are now and where he has put us. You are talking about an economy that is so badly hit that today inflation is over around 40%.
All right, Abusia, Maminda was in a from Mega TV. So, and then your first time, my message or don't subscribe button. So, now subscribe to Mega TV, the authentic channel. What you say now, Udon Sabo, a year, Bell, no so Adomano. Now, what to me? I share video no so ama bibia koyi na audio ye de beto aso eye Owura Hassan Suhweni what you say oye NDC communicator or church and say mu send your online siko send your online Kufuado ne nkofo omabo online nafa what you say enti no odi nsem bi ato platform no so awato no bo ase oye den or church and say mu enti abusuan ye nche ho kra yenko na yenkoti eye nsem na Owura Hassan Suhweni owo Kwesi Pratt ne dwumadi so ne show so yenko na yenkoti nsem ne mu nkyeremo.
That is unprecedented. It's around 40%. That's unprecedented. And the prediction is that this year's growth of GDP is going to be the worst non-oil, we are going to record the worst non-oil GDP growth ever in the Fourth Republic. The worst non-oil GDP growth is going to be recorded this year. And this is due to the debt restructuring and other tough fiscal and monetary policy measures that are to be rolled out to cure the problems that his management has created for all of us. Let us not also forget the fact that the ongoing discussion about haircuts is going to worsen our banking sector. It's going to affect the banking sector. A banking sector that we have, under his watch, spent over 25 billion Ghana cedis to collapse in the name of restructuring. And in less than 6 years, that same sector is threatened by the mismanagement that has resulted in the need for some haircuts. And this is not just going to affect the banking sector, but individuals, because the banks don't exist in isolation. These banks are what they are and do what they do because of people's investments. And that is also going to be affected. In fact, major projects, and we still need them, like hospitals, like clinics, like roads, are going to be affected. Schools. Look at the, numbers that are expected, for example, to go to tertiary, for tertiary education this year. What infrastructure expansion have we done in our tertiary institutions to contain these numbers? But as a result of his mismanagement, together with others, like the chairman of the economic management team, His Excellency the Vice President, of course,
you guys, of course, this obsession
with others. I'm having a fair conversation. Please, okay, this is not funny. I'm having a fair conversation. We have been in this country where, when things were right, the accolades were given to him. Let's be fair and honest. And so it is not about an obsession. It's about a fair conversation. Yes, Ken must go, but it must not be lost on us that he is not the only one responsible for where we are. But there must always be ultimate responsibility. And that is why perhaps he has to take that ultimate responsibility. Because really, what can you do to a vice president, even if he is the chairman of the economic management team? So it's not an obsession. It's about having a fair conversation. I mean, some people may be uncomfortable with it because perhaps they want him to be president, they want him to be flag bearer. But this is having a fair conversation. And the conversation is within the context of conversations that we have had in the past, where we gave him all the accolades and the praise when things were supposed to be going right. So let's take it at that. So I'm saying that he, together with others, have put us in this situation where, our economy is in a dire state, and we are going to have to suspend all these major projects that are required to, you know, contribute to economic growth, for example. Now, for the first time, we are also being told that we are most likely, in fact, it has become a fact, not even a probability, that we will default in payment of our interest and in payment of our principal this year on domestic bonds. We will default. That hasn't happened before. Maybe it was during the Achampong era when we said yentuya. In fact, like our ranking member on finance said it perfectly during the lecture at UPSA. Today, we are not faced with yentuya. We are faced with a situation where it is yentimintuya. Like we can't pay. It is not like the past where you were arrogant about it. In this case, we simply do not have the means to pay our interest and principal on domestic bonds. And that is going to happen this year. In spite of all of this, Akwesi, the hardship that is projected to, you know, inflict all of us is unimaginable. Because benchmark values, for example, have been reversed. This is going to lead to high prices, higher prices for goods and services. Because imports are going to become more expensive. And that will translate in the end user price. Apart from that, Akwesi, VAT has increased by 2.5%. Bringing the rate to almost about 21. I mean, the flat rate, it's about 21. The effect, the cumulative effect. And that is going to take place this year. Businesses are going to be hardest hit. And when that happens, guess what? They simply will pass it on to the consumer. And so the hardship is real and is going to get worse according to, you know, the projections based on some of these policies that will be introduced. Again, as part of the IMF, you know, program, when it is eventually, you know, reached, we may have to engage in automatic adjustment of, you know, utility tariffs. That means electricity tariffs, water tariffs are going to have to, you know, be adjusted realistically. And you know what that means. If you have been hearing the demands that the ECG and VRA and water company have been making to the PURC, which sometimes get watered down as a result of engagements, if we are to automatically adjust now to meet the market cost of production by these companies, your guess is as good as mine, the level of hardship that is going to bring, you know, on households. And let us not forget, these things are all as a result of the mismanagement of, you know, yes, a team, but led by this man, Ken Oforiatta. And so, like I said, apart from even the loss of credibility, apart from the good governance requirement not to allow people to stay at a place for too long so that they develop chiefdoms, and even apart from the general overwhelming public opinion, these are things that you need to consider and perhaps give credit to those who are demanding his removal and side with them. Because the hardships are going to be indiscriminatory. It is not going to choose from an NDC person, you know, against an MPP person. We are all going to face it. And it's as a result of the mismanagement and the recklessness. In fact, the other time I had a conversation with somebody and I said mismanagement and misapplication of funds. The person said, no, it's thievery. Call it as it is. And this was a person high up in government. Akwesi, worst of all, and maybe I can end on that.
Yes, on that note, thank you.
Unemployment is going to skyrocket. In fact, this government has already, you know, superintended over the worst unemployment record in history.
That is not true.
unemployment that was inherited from about 5% is now over about 13%, and you say it's not true? When have we ever had this situation in the Fourth Republic? From about 5%, it is now about 13%. Youth unemployment is even worse. It's over 30%. Youth unemployment, with all the what do you call it? The shenanigans of introducing, stopgap measures for propaganda value to deal with unemployment, like youth in afforestation that is in huge areas, NAPCO that huge areas and eventually set aside. It has led to the youth unemployment moving from about 12-13% to over 31% today. And it is going to get worse because with the IMF program, we are supposed to freeze employment into the public sector. And with all these, hits on the banking sector, on local business and VAT and benchmark values, hurting companies, those private companies will not also have the capacity to even recruit.